This trim is made for the pocket of a vest, and this is the design that we'll be working with today. To start off, you will need bias tape, and for the main color of your design, you will need about 3 or 4, more or less, depending on the length and width of your Qupak design you like. We are starting off with cream bias tape, and this is my base. And we also need green bias tape and then purple bias tape. I also have ribbon today. We have a dark purple ribbon and a black ribbon. You can find all of these materials at your fabric stores, either Joann's or Walmart, or you can also order these online. Take the main color and measure it alongside the first Qupak that we made, making sure that it is the same length and that it is longer than the pocket so that we can fold it over. You also want this purple rickrack so that we can tack it down onto the first trim. As you can see, I overlap it onto the first bias tape, and I'm just tacking it down as close to the edge as I can. You want to sew this rickrack all the way to the end of your cut piece, and it should look like this when it is sewn down. Next, you want to take another piece of your bias tape, and you want to overlap the bias tape on top of the rickrack. You can decide how much of the rickrack you want shown on your design. I sewed it as close to the left as I can, showing just parts of the rickrack. If I haven't mentioned before, you want to use stitch 0 while working with the overlap of the bias tape. To get an even space between each design, I mark the areas where I want each design to be. I fold this entire length of the bias tape in half and mark that middle piece with a sewing pin, and you want one in the middle. And then I fold it over once again in half and add 2 more sewing pins, and then in half again, adding 2 other sewing pins. In total, you will have 7 pins marking the places you want your design to be, and I'll show you as I line it. You can see that all of these pins should align right in the center of each design shown on the Qupak. We're going to start with these purple designs here. We have 3 of them, as you can see, and we will start with the furthest one to the left. This design will be placed at the 2nd, the 4th, and the 6th pin. Sew past that first pin and stop just before the 2nd pin to give yourself enough space to place the ribbon. And you can cut these any length that you are most comfortable with. I cut them this length, and you want to place that on top of that 2nd pin and overlap the bias tape on top of the ribbon. Bias tape should be overlapped like this on top of the ribbon piece, and you want to place a ribbon piece at the 2nd, the 4th, and the 6th pin. As you can see, each ribbon piece should be sewn underneath that bias tape, and you want to take 2 more and place them on top and on bottom of the first one, making sure that you get as close as possible to that first one. While doing this, you want to make sure that you fold this first ribbon piece over. Again, while that first piece is folded over, push and adjust those other 2 pieces as close as you can to that folded over piece, the first piece. If you need a better understanding, I will lift it. As you can see, I laid that top piece down. I will fold over this first middle piece that we sewn on before, and lay the bias tape on top of both of those. And we'll take the third piece, ribbon piece, and place that underneath that folded over piece and push it as close as we can to that fold piece. We'll be doing the same thing with these next two. This is how it should look once you've sewn that bias tape over and folded those 3 ribbon pieces. Now we will work with the middle of the Qupak design. The middle of the design is this green bias tape, the purple bias tape, and the black ribbon, as you can see. We will be placing the green bias tape at the pins and the purple and black ribbon right next to the ribbons we had just done. The only green bias tape that I could find at the store was this double fold bias tape, and I didn't want my design to look so thick, so you can also do this, I took some scissors and I had cut it right down the middle to create a single fold look. Again, this green piece will be placed at the first, third, fifth, and 7th piece of the pins, and this black, purple, and black will be placed right above and below the design that we had just made. Always remember to push your work as close to the previous design to get a clean look. This is how it will look after that row. It will look messy, but you just keep going and it will clean up. We will fold over all of these pieces as we sew on the next bias tape. Step is working in the row with the 2 ribbon pieces. You want to make sure you fold over all of those, the black and the purple, and add the next 2 ribbon pieces. Then we will add the last piece of the purple design, and this should be right in the center. Once you've sewn those down, you will fold over the ribbon, the last ribbon piece, and sew down the next bias tape. Once you've sewn that bias tape down, you want to take another piece of bias tape. In this design, I am using a double fold bias tape. You can also use a single fold, but we will be using a double fold today. Once you've sewn that down, you can see that my bias tape trim is exactly the same as this one, so you're going to want to flip it around and sew that trim onto the other side of the pocket. You want to align this Qupak as even as possible to the other Qupak of the pocket. And the reason that I'm sewing the Qupak on before I finish the Qupak is because I find it easier to stitch down the design that I'm using while it is sewn onto the pocket. You can also use interfacing, but this is the stitch that we are doing, and this stitch is number 90. Normally we would take this and stitch it this way, but because it is the opposite side, we will push this over and sew the stitch on this side. This is something that I've messed up a lot on with certain stitches, so please make sure you pay attention and stitch it correctly. Once you are done with that stitch, you will want to change your stitch settings to 31, and that will be the outer purple stitch on your Qupak design. For this stitch, I am flipping my Qupak upside down and working from this side to the top, and you just want to guide your work along with the sewing machine to create a clean look. And there you have it. This is the finished Qupak trim for your pocket.